the possibilities of a grocery business. Anything you're looking for.
That's important. That's important. Oh, good. That makes sense. 4 or 5. That should definitely be a quorum.
Yep.
Oh, who else is online?
Mark,
Is he sick?
he's also sick, yes.
Oh, sorry. We need to spray, maybe we need to spray some Lysol everywhere. Do we have any?
They usually come through here and clean up on Wednesdays, so.
Lysol?
Well, they spray.
I'm like, I need bleach. I see, even with my glasses, I can't read this. Is that horrible?
So, Mayor, do you want to call us to order, or are we still muted, Ronnie?
I can. Hold on a second. I'm
It's your
just
job.
trying to get.
How are you not feeling well?
Thanks. Yeah, I got sore throat and cough.
Oh, that's awful. I hate that.
And so I was like, I don't want to get anyone sick.
Oh, we appreciate that.
I'm pulling up the agenda. Give me a split second here.
The work session agenda is mostly just to go through, our goals, Mayor, like where we've been.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
our
I got it.
focus has been.
Okay, so I will go ahead. I'll call the work session meeting to order at 5:10 p.m. Do we need roll call?
Sure. Counselor Hartman.
Here.
Counselor Braverman.
Yeah.
Counselor Gelfen.
Here.
Counselor Tyso.
Here.
Mayor Manel.
Here.
And then, we have Counselor Kazmierski is out of town. And then Counselor Argidi was not feeling well, so, he is out as well. He said he would try to log in if he could get free.
All right, thank you. So are you gonna go over what I guess maybe previous goals and if that's something we want to keep, or how do you want to?
Yeah, so my objective today is just kind of go over where we've been, what our accomplishments have been over the last, 5 to 6 years, identify what goals we have had previously and where we are going. And then I think what I'd like to do is kind of break this up into maybe like 2 or 3 goal setting sessions where the first one is the where we've been, the next one's kind of like where we want to go, and then maybe a final goal setting session.
Okay, sounds good. You can kind of, because I can't really see what's happening in the room, so if you guys want to kind of take it.
So I mailed you the memorandum, Mayor, and that just basically is a summary along with a narrative of everything that we're going to go over here in this presentation. So first off, we have like an overview of what our goals are, reflection over the past 6 years, the importance of strategic planning, not only for the city's future, but also for our financial status as well as many factors that play into our organization. I lost my pictures.
You want me to read it out loud?
Hang on.
Now I totally understand why people say being remote, they can't hear it, keeps cutting in and out.
Right. I don't know what's going on with the presentation, but I've lost the pictures.
I see where it says major accomplishments.
Yeah, and there was supposed to be a background to that slide.
Oh.
It seems to be lost. So then everything's in wonderful yellow.
Yeah.
So,
Read 'em.
I will go, we lost a cool picture, so it's got the third slide at the bottom of your handout, I promise there are some cool pictures in here. So anyways, some of the major accomplishments that we've done over the past 6 years or so is we completed the Title 11 concept plan. We successfully navigated through the Metro Urban Growth Boundary expansion. We completed the first transportation system plan for King City. We have a master plan for Kingston Terrace, comprehensive plan adoption in 2023, along with code amendments also in 2023, and the first system development charge methodology in 2023 as well. We completed the City Hall improvements that you see here. That was a project that was started in 2019. We've done annexation successes in Highlands and the Kingston Terrace Town Center. For, I think the Highlands was about 40 acres, and the Kingston Terrace Town Center annexation was about 215 acres. Lost all the pictures. Sorry, guys.
Are you reading from a document that we have?
I'm going off the slide. There's a slideshow right here.
And then, the one that I can't read in yellow.
Yeah. And then,
I see code amendment, City Hall improvements, annexation success, Highlands 2017, Kingston Terrace Town Center 2014.
2023.
2023.
Some of our major accomplishments for infrastructure upgrades was 131st Street, King Richard, 116th Avenue adjacent to City Hall here. Bexley Street was also a annexation and acquisition project, which we completed just 2 years ago now. I want to say, Ronnie, 1 or 2 years ago. Crown Drive, Majestic, right behind us along Crown Drive. We just finished Part 4 over the summer, along with Morocco and Montague over down in the Garden Villa area. We finished King Richard now, along with portions of Fisher Road, Prince Albert, and the sidewalks along 99W. Parks and recreation enhancements, we did a whole new drainage at the park. We fixed the play field, the walking track, and we've added pedestrian lighting. Some of the things that we've done internally is we've upgraded our city's financial and permitting software. We've gone through permits for development for the Rivers Edge subdivision, the Arden Village subdivision, Castle Oaks subdivision. 131st and Fisher is still under development. Habitat for Humanity is still under development right now. Ponderosa Pines subdivision is still under development. The Kingston Terrace Town Center is under development, and Charlene Woods is now permitted and awaiting development. In permitting right now is Kensington Square. That is the property at the corner, or near the corner of 137th and Beach Bend. Some of the other things that we've tried that we still need to work on are our system upgrades to our audio and video, our website, our police MDTs, the police vehicles. Hopefully, in our budget for the next year, we're hoping to add some more audio capabilities in here. We've recently added 2 additional cameras in this room to improve our online platform. Other elements, we've finished the West Side Trail concept plan. We've installed park benches down around the track. And then as for grant acquisition, there's a laundry list there with the CET is the Construction Excise Tax of 2017, the Transportation Growth Management Grant of 2018, the Construction Excise Tax of 2019. We also used to get a number of small cities grants for our roadway projects, which we no longer qualify for because we are over 5,000 in population. We also had a community place grant in 2021. This was following the COVID pandemic, and that was a nice artistic wall that we did down at the park. We have the Parks and Nature Bond, which is the funds that we used to do the West Side Trail concept plan. We have the Oregon Marine Board grant that we're working now. That's the kayak and boat launch that we're doing down at the very end. So these kind of sum up what we've been working on and what we've been doing over the past few years. Some of our ongoing challenges, as we go to the next slide, is our annexation efforts, particularly south of Fisher Road with the Cal-Am property. We were able to get over 51% of the registered voters in that area with signatures, but what we can't get is over 51% of the landowner, which happens to be Cal-Am. Cal-Am owns about 80% of the land down there, and if we can't get them, then we can't get them to sign on. So that was the annexation efforts that we were working on over the past few years. We've kind of let it fall to the wayside lately, but it's still on our list to kind of fulfill our boundaries eventually. Our natural boundaries that have been identified are Beat Bend on the north, the Tualatin River on the south, 99W on the east, and Roy Rogers on the west. Some of our funding opportunities remain to be challenging, especially when we look at what our needs are. There's a number of needs when we look at infrastructure improvements, trails, property acquisitions, the City Hall, Rec Center portion, cooperation with the New Home Company and Metropolitan Land Group. Along with all the growth and everything else, we've also seen increased demands on the staff here. I've explained previously at the last council meeting how that creates fractures with the level of production that we're able to get out of our staff when they're overburdened and overworked and there's not enough of us to go around. So we're trying to add positions. We're trying to add another police officer. We are also trying to add a public information officer, and we are looking at promoting from within one officer to potentially a sergeant position. So those are all ongoing right now. One of the ongoing challenges that we've had is the public opposition to the growth, which we've been consistently dealing with since the transportation plan, the master plan, and everything was adopted in 2023. We continue to meet challenges with that. Stormwater infrastructure needs. King City was built in the 1960s and was not equipped to handle the level and volume of stormwater that goes through our cities. And we don't have any sort of funding mechanism for stormwater currently. So previously, what staff has proposed is like a stormwater fee that goes on your water and sewer bill, or maybe even like a Parks and Rec fee, something that would allow us to start a fund to go in and address some of the stormwater issues that we have. We have stormwater issues north of City Hall that creates a river running in under City Hall. It creates a river going down 116th. We have other challenges throughout the city where our storm drains aren't equipped to handle the volume that's coming in and going through. So that's been an ongoing issue, and it has been very elusive for us to be able to address that because we just don't have the funding mechanism. So finally, like one of the other challenges is the business community engagement. You know, we've had multiple times where the former mayor would try to do like a mayor's corner or go engage with who's down in the plaza, this, that, and other. But it's a challenge when most of our businesses are part of the Tiger Chamber, not necessarily associated with King City. And so that was one of the things that we looked at when we were doing the master planning was how do we build a sense of place? Right? How do we build a culture that's King City? How do we build that place? And so our hope is that by creating a downtown Main Street in the Kingston Terrace Town Center, that we'll be creating that sense of culture, that sense of place, and that'll give us the opportunity to really engage our business community through, you know, street fairs, Saturday markets, things of that nature. So those are some of the things that we hope to accomplish in the future. When we look at what our short-term goals are, right now, we're working on our budget currently. We're working on audits for the 2022-23 and 23-24 years. I believe that the auditors have pretty much wrapped up the 22-23 audit, and now we're going to get into the 23-24 audit. Finally, our other goal was to secure the land for the City Hall and Rec Center. When we started the master plan, we also had in there a library. I would caution against the library because right now, if you've been paying attention to the libraries across Washington County, they're really struggling. And they're losing funding left, right, and center, and their administration has been struggling. So there's libraries nearby that serve the purpose. I don't know if we have a market for a library at this point in time. Additionally, these are items that have been goals of ours. So improve park facilities. We're still trying to add dugouts down for the field. Former counselors previously wanted to add horseshoe pits and resurface the tennis and basketball courts. Address police coverage concerns. We are still trying to get to 24/7 coverage. I think the addition of the one other officer will really help us get to that coverage. But again, if we're facing a situation where officers are on vacation or this, that, or another, we might end up short, and then we have to ask for additional coverage from Washington County to cover those voids. For Tiger, we do have an interagency agreement with these organizations, Tiger, Tualatin, and Washington County. So if we go dark on our side, they fill in for us. So there's never a time that we don't have coverage in the city. It's just where is that coverage coming from? So, but we are pursuing full 24/7 coverage. With that, also we are pursuing the police accreditation. Just finished our Lexipol policy manual last year. Getting that to go online, we're still working through that, but we are pretty much done with it now. Been really working hard to strengthen our relationship with local, state, and federal representation. A lot of that is, a lot of shoe leather burning at legislative time, going to the meetings at Metro or local community meetings. That was something that we've been really good at pursuing since I got here. Before, that we didn't have a seat at the table, and I feel like we have a seat at the table, at least partially at this point, and the message and the attention for King City has been more prominent. So I feel pretty good that we've strengthened those relationships. I'd like to keep them strong, and I'd like to keep working with those partners. We're working with the union right now, our local union here, to work through some negotiations. Those are still underway. I don't know where those are going to go, but hopefully we can reach some sort of consensus. As you're aware, the local wetland inventory has been going on over the past year. That is the Kingston Terrace Town Center. Not Town Center, it's just Kingston Terrace master plan area. So that goes from the Bonneville power lines all the way out to Roy Rogers. And they have finished their initial study, and now it's just sitting at Department of State Lands for concurrence. So that's out there as well. We're currently working to acquire all the permits for the West Side Trail. That includes working with Bonneville and PGE, Department of State Lands, Army Corps of Engineers, everybody else, along with there's a joint permit application process that we have to go through. So we're still working those angles. The quest for the West Side Trail is to try to get it shovel ready. And then hopefully if we're shovel ready and there's grant money that happens to become available, then we can do a segment of it. My guess is that it'll need to be broke up into multiple phases, just because of the size and scope of the project. You're looking at, right now it's probably like $4 to $5 million for the project itself. But if every year that goes by, cost of living goes up, cost of goods and services go up. So our estimate is right now with the RFFA fund step 2 that we just recently applied for is with inflation, it's like a $7 to $8 million project by the time it gets funded, but by the time it potentially gets funded in 2028, 2030. So right now, I think we scored about 10th or 11th on their list. So it's not likely that it'll be funded, but this is our first attempt at it. And it's always good to keep going at it. So maybe someday it'll be funded. We'll see how that goes. We're basically finalizing the water access designs. This is for the kayak launch down at the King City Community Park. We are working with, like I mentioned earlier, Bonneville PGE and the Oregon Marine Board grant for that piece. Finally, one of the things that I really feel that we need to get on right away is the establishment of an urban renewal district. This essentially is our funding source for the City Hall and Rec Center, and it's the only way that we could do a City Hall Rec Center without going to the taxpayers and asking for a bond. What we would do in establishing the urban renewal district is then we would pull revenue bonds from the urban renewal district to fund the construction. That was what's in the financial plan of the Kingston Terrace Master Plan, and so that's been our goal, is pursuing that. When we look at our midterm goals over the next 3 to 5 years, we just recently feel that we're going to complete our charter committee, so we'll get that going hopefully, and start revamping our city charter. We have a series of upgrades to our code amendment, or to our code by way of amendments and upgrades, and just little things that need to be addressed that have never been addressed before. Since having Max on, I know he's been really busy with all the developments that have been going on, but we're still trying to get a list of all the code amendments that we want to bring forth and get addressed. So I imagine I want to bring that forward at some point and get some momentum on that as well. We still are wanting to partner with Tigard, Tualatin, Sherwood, and others along the corridor to do the Highway 99 corridor study. Unfortunately, this has been elusive as well and consistently gets knocked down when we go into the MSTIP or the RFP funds and all this stuff, and it's just not a high priority for ODOT and others to address 99W at this point. It's been really frustrating. I thought we were close back in 2020 or 2019. I thought we were really close in 2019, and then COVID hit, and then it just fell off the legislative cliff. So, and it hasn't been rejuvenated yet. It's just kind of floating out there, but it really needs to be picked back up. Other midterm goals is to continue our annexation efforts south of Fisher Road that I mentioned earlier. We've been working at that for some time now. I don't think Cal-Am is going to be a participant in that effort, so the city might need to look at some other mechanisms and means to do so. One thing that we've tried in the past to do is establish and promote a gas tax. Now, the challenge here with the gas tax is that it's a diminishing tax at this point. So other taxes that we could consider to help us build more revenue for street fund projects are vehicle registration fees, title fees, things of that nature, other things that we can implement from our spend. But establishing a gas tax really helps put money back into our local streets, and would be a great mechanism that we could use, even in the short term, to put money directly into the maintenance and rejuvenation of our local streets. So I would like to see that go forward. I think it would take a public education campaign to successfully navigate that ballot title measure. But, I mentioned earlier the implementation of fees. That's the next line item here. Parks and Rec fee that I mentioned earlier, and the stormwater and erosion fee. if the city council wants to take that on. It's been kind of a political football. Let's be honest. It is what it is. People are not a fan of taxes, and that's essentially what it is.
What?
Yeah. But with the way our funding mechanisms are, we are very limited by what resources we have. And fees are one of the few resources that the city has or can implement to generate more revenue to pay for other services and improve amenities. So we haven't done anything yet, but it has been on our potential to-do list. We have upgraded the city's financial and permitting software. I just snuck in there, sorry. That's already done, put a check mark by that one. But we would like to enhance more of the community outreach and expand our online GIS platform. Ronnie's done a great job. He has a GIS platform online. I'd like to see it be a little more user-friendly and expand on that platform in the future. But that's software investments and things of that nature that we would have to spend in order to enhance those platforms. Improve our stormwater planning. Right now, we rely on Clean Water Services to do the majority of our stormwater planning. I'd like to see us get more in line with what Tigard has done up in River Terrace 2.0, where we address some of the amenities, some of the attributes to these stormwater features so that they don't just become these little stormwater jails. I want to make sure that they're more community friendly and we address the aesthetic side of those things, whereas Clean Water Services doesn't necessarily address aesthetics at all. So we need to beef up our code language to address aesthetics so that we get the product that we're looking for. So that's one of those another amendments to our stormwater that I'd like to see us work towards. We're still working towards the town center implementation. It's going well. We didn't, but the developer ran across a very large rock out there in the middle of what is going to be River Terrace Boulevard, our main street, essentially. And so they're going to have to do some blasting to kind of break up that rock, but just fair warning. But we are working toward that. We are monitoring that progress. It is moving very well, and things are coming along. It's really great to watch that occur, and we anticipate that it's going to be coming online over the next 3 to 5 years, that whole area. So their predictions are that they're going to get about 150 to 200 houses per year with a maximum of about 250 per year. So we're kind of budgeting for somewhere in the middle there. So you'll see that should pop up in the budget as it kind of starts circling around. We're really excited because the first building permit came in last week, and we're anticipating that there are more involved. And I already mentioned securing the funding for the City Hall and Rec Center through the implementation of the Urban Renewal District, which takes a vote of the people. So, finally, the finish of the design and move toward construction. I've asked FFA to come and present their latest design to the council in April. So hopefully we'll have just a nice work session with them and kind of go over some of the implementations and designs that they've worked toward. And they can explain to you what their cost estimates are and how they're filling in. Long-term goals, there are a number of them. Mentioned this earlier, but achieve the full annexation to our natural boundaries, Deep Bend, Walton River, 99W, Troy Rogers. It's been a long-term goal of ours to establish jurisdictional boundaries, so we could have our own municipal court, our own system here within King City. Along with that, develop like the commercial hubs at Roy Rogers and Deep Bend, improve the town center area that's currently right here along 99W, improve major infrastructure along Deep Bend, and the Fisher Road extension, trail segment, all of these have been long-term goals that we're expecting to take 5, 10, 15, 20. Acquiring the key land parcels for the city development. This includes property over in Kingston Terrace that might be parkland. It includes property over there that we're looking at for our city hall and rec center. It includes land that we need for trails. It includes any kind of strategic interests that the city has identified. Speaking of land acquisitions, last night, Washington County approved our request for the parcel at the bottom of 131st Street. So staff will need to bring that back before city council in the near future. And the council will approve that so that we can acquire that. Finally, is to expand the recreational opportunities, the boat ramps, the trails, additional park amenities, and all those things. So those have been our kind of key goals, our key long-term looks that have been identified. Beyond that, we're talking about strategic communication and outreach. We still need to keep our message getting out there. So far, I feel like we have been lacking in this, and we've tried to increase the number of newsletters that we put out. We initially would do an annual newsletter, typically after budget, kind of like a State of the City newsletter. We increased those to 2 a year. Now we're trying to do them quarterly, so we're trying to do them every quarter. So that's 4 a year. They are a little spendy. We actually got a pretty good rate last couple times that we went out, but they do take a lot of staff time to build those, a lot of effort to get them into the mail and out, and on their merry way. But bringing in the new PIO, what I'd like to do with them is assign them weekly tasks of getting news out. So sending out a blurb every week to kind of say, hey, this is what's going on at City Hall, this is what we're doing. That way people feel like they're more informed and have more of an interface. That's my hope on that, and then enhancing some of our strategic communication regarding funding. We still need a number of grants to fund the projects that we're trying to do for King City and into the future. And then finally, finding ways to engage those community businesses that we were mentioning earlier. So next steps, already gone through most of these along the way, but engage in targeted outreach and education. I think this is a shortfall of ours, and I'd like to see us get a lot better at it. Prioritize key infrastructure and annexation projects. Fostering partnerships with our regional and state partners. We always pursue grant funding. We see that, but having a supportive council and a supportive city is crucial to our risks in acquiring those grants. And right now, with the political turmoil that King City has been involved in over the past year, it's really disrupted our ability to kind of pursue those grants, and I'm concerned that it's going to kind of ruin our reputation out there as well. So I'd like to see that kind of calm down, and hopefully we can get some messaging to improve that. Park development. Right now we're going to have that linear park on the far west side. That'll be probably 2 to 3 years out. But we also have the West Side Trail, which is probably 5 or more years out. We might be able to do the kayak boat launch earlier, get the funding, but there's a lot of permitting that goes along with anything in the water, so it might take us. When we look at erosion concerns down at the park as well, we have the outfall down there. We talked to the city of Tigard, who did one off of their trail that is west of Cook Park. And what they did was a temporary fix, which cost them a couple $1 million, and then they've been trying to get a permanent fix for like 10 years. So we were talking with them last month, and trying to get an idea of what it's gonna take to kind of address ours. The good thing is that we are getting some eyes on, and we're getting some attention and traction finally, so, maybe we'll get some help to fix that down there, but it'll take some time, I imagine. Maybe they can give us a temporary fix that just stops the erosion temporarily until we get a more permanent solution out there. Policy manuals, the city really has finished their, Lexipol manual on the police side of the house, but now we really need to start working on policy manuals on our administrative side of the house. And I'd like to see us get those in place and ready to start seeing a lot of staff growth, and start filling other positions. Financial audit and projections, having Katie on now as our CPA accountant, I'm feeling really good about her knowledge and her capabilities, and hopefully we can start getting some better financial projections out into the future on where we sit and how things are going. Budgets, we're right in the middle of budget season right now, and we're still dealing with the audits. So it's been really busy lately, dealing with all the audits, things going through all the records for the audit, as well as trying to prepare budgets, so our finance department. Finally, expand city services. It's long been our desire to start expanding city services and becoming a real city, providing water service, providing septic service, providing stormwater services. These are services that cities generally cover. I tend to believe that you can't sustain it individually until you reach about 9,000 to 10,000 in population, or it's a big burden. So right now, what we have is Clean Water Services is managing our sewer, managing our storm. Tigard Water District is managing our water. But in the future, we might get to a point where we can take those services upon ourselves, and then those can be administered in-house. And that gives us more control of our local services and provides an opportunity for us to engage the public. City Hall Rec and Rec Center design and build is coming our way. Along with that is the Urban Renewal District and revenue bonds for that. What we need to do probably in the immediate future is work with New Home Company and Metropolitan Land Group and CDFNR to secure the parcel down at the end of River Terrace, at the junction of River Terrace and Kingston Terrace Boulevard. Finally, and I already talked about this when I was talking about parks, is the stormwater erosion, and then the police department. All I have. Sorry that the pictures didn't come through. They were lovely little pictures. So with that, I was able to get through most of where we've been. I would love to kind of chat with you. There's also in your handout a narrative that walks through everything I've kind of that I've expressed in the presentation, but it goes more into detail about where we've been. If you see a check mark next to the item that's a bulleted, that means that it's been completed. If you see it doesn't have a check mark, that means it has not been completed and there's still working.
I do. How many unions do we deal with? Is it just the police union, or is there an administrative staff union as well?
So they're one and the same.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. So we have one union. They are our police and admin.
Do you lead that?
I was just curious.
What's that?
Do you lead that negotiation?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so typically it's myself and the county legal counsel.
Yep.
We've been on those, along with the shop steward and etc.
So you mentioned we may have a secondary workshop where we, as the city council, can put together and in partnership with you what our goals are. Because my understanding of the municipal code is that your duty is to assist us but it's not your duty to dictate to us what the goals are. We're supposed to be working together on what the goals are. Am I reading that correctly?
That's very correct, yes.
Okay.
And that's the intention. I'm just showing you where we've been, what the goals have been, where we,
There's no doubt that you're very knowledgeable and have worked really hard, but sometimes, at least to me, it comes across like we're being dictated to and told, these are our goals, and sometimes I heard you say I, not we. And so I just want to give you that feedback, and it's to help you, it's not to criticize you. And this is just all of us, and we're not in front of the public. I've been trying to get your attention, and yet you've been resistant. I want us to work together as a team. I want to follow the rules. That's my training, is to follow the rules and to make sure that we're on the same page and to work harmoniously towards that goal, okay?
Mhm.
What it feels like, and I'm just giving you the feedback, and it comes across to others, not just to me, that you are in charge and we're just here to say, yes, sir. And that's kind of the inverse of how I'm reading the rules. So if I'm mistaken, I want to be educated. But my understanding is that the city council is to work in tandem with you, and that we are supposed to be coming up with things, and we are supposed to be working on things, not having an executive session and having you and Peter Watts tell us, this is what we're doing. That is coming across not harmonious to working together. So I don't know how, I've suggested a few ways we could talk about this. I've suggested a few ways that we could educate ourselves on the rules, because I don't know that everybody is as rule directed as my training is. I want to be helpful. So you tell me how I can do that.
Well, this is basically a goal-setting session. This is the first one. Like I mentioned earlier, I want to have at least 2 or 3. This is kind of where we've been, right? So the whole point of this was to lay it out where we've been, what we've been working on, so that the new counselors can understand what our direction has. After this, we'll have another goal-setting session. And that's where we'll sit down with the counselors and go over what you want to see, right? So knowing where we're at, knowing what we still have going, because we can't just drop everything that we've been working on and then just leave it out. But
we also, I don't hear, and maybe again I could use your guidance on this because you have the expertise. But when do we ask our constituency and the community what they would like to see us be working on? Like where do we have a part? Like you said, you want to expand our partnership in the business community and in the residential community. And I know we've done some surveys and things, and we've had a lot of kids participate in those as well. But I really want to know what mechanism can we maybe put together where we're really hearing directly from the constituencies.
I think that's a question for the council on how they want to handle that, really.
Okay, well, I don't want to overstep, but I wonder, in my very brief meeting with the mayor, he mentioned he wanted to do coffee with the mayor and things like that, which I thought was a really good idea. I supported him and his idea on that. But I just think it's important that we kind of decide, to get some input from everywhere to see, because, I have a question for you. I don't know if we're going to be talking about who's going to be taking over Sherry's. I don't know, do we get involved in any of that, or is that handled just by the shopping center and they pick who they want and they control all of that?
Yeah.
So the community has no say?
Well, you do in a way, because what they would do, depending on what their use is, typically that's going to be an outright use.
Correct.
So they're just going to come in with their proposal, and it's going to be administrative. The folks at the counter are going to sign off on it. If it doesn't conform with what's already permitted out there, then that would be a conditional use.
Right,
At that point, it would go to the
I'm not
planning commission.
saying we want to change the permit or anything like that, but in my last life in California, I was really part of the community. I wasn't on the council, but I was in the chamber, and the chamber and the city sat down with the landlords of the shopping area to also discuss what the community would like to see, and completely partnership with the business community and partnership with the community within the confines of whatever the use permits were and whatever the land was designated for. It makes me sad when I hear you say that we have to wait until we get to the Kingston Terrace, Main Street, to actually have a liaison with our business community when we have this perfect opportunity that, again, I may be misguided, but I think we have a perfect opportunity to start those goals now with the businesses we have here. It would be a good way to start the legacy that you are proposing. And
Yeah, I'm
so-
not suggesting we wait. I mean, I'm trying to figure out
Yeah.
strategic ways to wait.
That's why I'm asking, because that doesn't seem to be on your list, but I'm wondering, and I'm not suggesting that we change Sherry's into a different permit. I'm just saying, could we partner to find out and get input about what is happening there instead of just being a bystander?
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Right, well, I think it would be really nice to field ideas and bring folks together to figure out ways in which we can engage our business community, right? And that's what we've been working on, yes.
Yes. What you're describing in many ways is a charrette.
Charrette?
And if we have a charrette, usually you have a professional run the charrette. And you end up doing whiteboard stuff and breaking up into small groups and coming back together and helping to prioritize what happens in a charrette.
And that's what we did at the start of the concept planning and the master plan, is we did like a 2-week charrette where we had boards and we had architects and landscape architects and engineers, planners, and everybody in the same room. And the community would funnel in all day long and talk with them individually, and they throw stuff up and design all sorts of stuff at that point in time. That was
Basically throw all the spaghetti at the wall and some of it sticks and some of it disappears.
But there might be an easier, is that the only way we can do that? I mean, I
The most
understand.
effective way.
But I mean, a lot of times people just want to tell you, hey, I really like the sea, I should have you go in there. I don't know.
So I think Oregon law, what you're asking for though, Oregon law, we can't have any say as a council, is my understanding, and I know I'm saying this from my professional side. We've allowed a code of what it could be, and that's what the landlord has the right to put whatever they want in.
That's right.
And then it's called a conditional use permit that they would have to submit to change it, and then we would have a say, or our planning committee would have a say.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not saying that we were going to dictate what it is, if that's what you're hearing me say. I'm saying that it would be nice to just find out from the community. It would be a great opportunity to find out what people are thinking and to have a discussion with the landlord about what's, because the landlords, I would think, are financially incentivized to make as much money on whoever they put in there. And so it's almost like we're helping them do their own market survey so that they can know that they're going to be it's like putting in a grocery store. If people don't really want another grocery store across the street from Grocery Outlet and they're not going to shop there and the thing's going to fail, the landlords just probably want to know that from the people. What do they want that they're going to spend their money and go to? Frequent.
They always do a market survey before they open the store.
Do they?
Yep, every one of them.
Haven't gotten any one of those.
You've been in that business.
It's their business, it's their business model. They're the ones that are responsible for
Yeah, the success or failure of it.
the failure of their business. So
now,
But
asking them to come talk to us about what their vision of the growth of the business is absolutely something we could ask, to make sure that we're in alignment. Like, we want them to feel as though they're a partnership too, but we can't dictate what they put in the building.
I'd like to hear from the community what they like. People have been talking to me, like I run into people at the gym, or I'm sure you do too, and they take you aside and they go, oh, have you thought about this for Sherry? I'm like, no, I haven't. I'm just trying to work out and knock off the treadmill right now, but okay.
I miss the canned farming.
If anybody's looked into Sherry's, bankrupt. Nothing can go there until they figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good conversation,
You got a chance
council.
to look at
At least.
the town
Sure.
center plan, like the King City Town Center plan?
Yeah.
Is that Mark?
Yeah, I was trying to talk because I know we're coming up on the hour here with our meeting starting at 6, and I believe there needed to be some time to reset the room, or just have the meeting like it is.
Yeah, we probably need to reset the room and then move forward.
Okay, let's take like 10 minutes.
You adjourning the work session?
Yeah.
Does he adjourn the work session?
Yeah, you'll need to adjourn the work session and then
Okay, do I have a
those
motion
online can
to,
just stay on.
what's that?
You need does Mark need a motion?
Do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So given,
Second,
Was there a second?
Yeah.
yeah,
Dan seconded it.
I snuck it in there.
Counselor Hartman,
Moved and Counselor Tyso seconded.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
All right, thanks. And we'll do 10 minutes so that the room can get reset.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Jerry.
So you gotta open the restaurant. You gotta open it.
You should. What kind of food?
The small ones need to go up front, and then the big ones, we can stack on this side over here. But yes, I appreciate the help. You're welcome.
By the way, I gotta move, sorry.
I remember Rich, Mater D or.
It sounds delicious though. I would come.
It was really.
Remember when Moses, remember they had that period? I missed that.
I was trying to buy roses on building when they went out on 43rd.
Yeah.
But it found out he had real problems with,
Oh, yeah, you don't want to.
what do you call it, insulation.
No. Oh, yeah, I'm moving slowly. Sorry.
Whichever way I go, it's wrong. Is there a pen there? Oh, it's
what's that? Do you want to be honest? Okay, perfect. And then, have one room, Katie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can have the week off. Yeah, I
Yeah, no, I sent my message this morning. Yeah, next week, right? Do next week. Just remember, it's due next week. When is the SEL file? The filing, SEL file? Yeah, it's due next week. Actually, I think it's due April 4th, 15th, yeah.
never knew, I never remembered.
Brett is on all the time, just remember.
I can't talk to her.
And then I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, we're ready.
Are we good here?
Yep, all right.
Wait, Denny, Mark aren't you supposed to be in charge?
Mark tonight. Oh, no, Mark is doing it online.
Oh, but you can still, okay.
I could, and I could wear a crown too.
We can make you one. But wait, it's imperial. You remember that? I remember mine from Burger King. I like that. All right.
I'm older enough that I equate that with imperial margin.
I remember that. I used to watch it as a kid. Oh, there he is. We can see you. Can you see us? I don't know.
All right, thank you guys. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I stayed home so I didn't get anyone else this sore throat and cough. Can you guys hear me? Am I?
Speak louder.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, it's very strange. I think Counselor Arditi the last time you hear like 4 or 5 words and then it turns into like a robot and then it goes back to sounding normal. So it's strange.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, whoever just talked, I could hear.
That was Vince.
That was Vince.
Yeah.
Hello?
We have the same problem, Mark.
Yeah.
For some
I
reason,
think it must be the audio from the phone.
so I'm putting in mine on closed caption, which means I won't be able to tell who's speaking, but I'll know what they're saying.
Yeah. All right, so we will get the regular session started. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Counselor Braverman, would you like to lead that?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you.
Me too.
I will call the meeting to order at 6:13 p.m. Roll call. Mr. Weston.
All right, Counselor Hartman.
Here.
Counselor Gelfen. Here. Counselor Tyso.
Here.
Counselor Braverman.
Here.
Counselor Arditi.
Here,
Mayor Manella.
Here. Thank you. All right, moving on for the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance? Are there any corrections that anyone? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion to pass the consent agenda?
Move.
Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hands.
I have 6, so unanimous.
All right, thank you. We have number 5, special presentations. First up, we have the Family Justice Center Annual Report.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can see me.
Yep, they're on right. Yes, we can see you and I can hear you. So
Perfect. Hi, this is Rachel Schutz, and I'm the Executive Director of the Family Justice Center. And I'm here tonight to present our 2024 annual report with information about the data from King City. Thanks so much for having me today. I appreciate it.
thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, so the first thing that I sort of want to share is what the Family Justice Center is for everybody in the audience. So the Family Justice Center is a collaborative organization in which 18 agencies in Washington County who provide services for survivors of domestic and sexual violence are located inside of our center in order to make a single place for survivors to go when they need to find safety, healing, and hope. So that can look like somebody needing to speak with an advocate from the Domestic Violence Resource Center or apply for a restraining order and appear at court, which we have inside of the Family Justice Center. That also means they can access counseling and the food pantry and clothing, diapers, childcare, getting assistance with rent or utilities, all those sorts of things in one location so that they don't have to go then to 18 different locations all across Washington County. And we've been operating in our center since 2018. So in 2024, we saw some big increases in the numbers of people that we were seeing come to the Family Justice Center, as well as the services that were provided. So I've shared with you for the last couple of years about how our numbers have been increasing, particularly since the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's always a real mixed bag in our line of work to say that our numbers are increasing. But one of the things that gives me a lot of hope, and I actually like seeing the things increasing, is because that means that the survivors that exist in Washington County are able to get the services that they need. I don't think it means that there are more and more and more survivors on a very high and fast-paced trajectory growing in Washington County. I think it means that we are doing a better job in the county about having the conversation about what abuse and violence in a home look like, that people are getting more comfortable reaching out for help, and they are knowing where they can go and what kind of access they need. So that's a really big reason why I feel hopeful about the fact that we're actually seeing more folks coming in 2024 than we did in any previous year. The other thing that drove up access to services and services themselves in 2024 were some initiatives that we worked together with partners on in our community. So the first one was working together with the law enforcement agencies in Washington County, as well as the courts and the jail, implementing a countywide risk assessment for calls regarding domestic or sexual violence, and officers that are responding to those doing an assessment on the victim to see what level of danger are they in should the offender be in contact with that person again. That really helps communicate to the victim about their risk level and how and where they can get assistance after this police call. It also helps communicate to law enforcement, the courts, the jail, and the district attorney's office what sort of risk this person might pose, and create an evidence-based tool for making decisions about the appropriate supervision that this person might need. The other big program that we launched, there was a couple, but one of the really big ones was we partnered with the Oregon Food Bank to greatly expand our food pantry. So prior to 2024, we were working with a network of churches for donated food, which was wonderful. And they do an incredible job. What happened was there was, when the post-pandemic relief SNAP dollars ended, there was a huge surge in need for food pantries and food pantry assistance. And so while prior to that, the churches had been sharing food that was going unused or unpicked up, after the SNAP assistance ended, they did not have any extras. And so they weren't able to help stock with extra food, the food pantry. The other component was one of the largest churches ended up closing their food pantry. And so our staff worked together to find Oregon Food Bank and partnered to open up a much larger distribution that ended up providing over 22,000 pounds of food to the community in 2024, which is unbelievable. I had no idea that it was going to be that high. And so we continue to see, especially now, an increase in access to the food pantry, and we're distributing over 1,200 pounds of food per month or per week to survivors and their children. So it's really the need in the community in terms of accessing those basic needs assistance has really gone up. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you was some of the specific services, and that's on page 4. So just calling out some of the specific items that we were taking a look at. Yeah, there you go. So 106 families were provided emergency hotels during 2024. 346 survivors were able to appear for their court cases at the Family Justice Center rather than having to go to the courthouse. 1,939 survivors received food and clothing through the Family Justice Center. 701 after-hours crisis calls were routed to our partners, and over 7,800 services were coordinated for survivors through our center by the FJC staff to make sure that survivors were able to connect with all those different 18 partner agencies that we have operating out of the center. The other really remarkable thing is the outcomes that survivors themselves reported. So you can see those in the dark purple, where 99% of survivors reported that they experienced trauma-informed care while receiving services. 100% of survivors reported that they received the help they needed to keep their families safe. 100% of survivors reported that they felt they and their children were cared for by staff and partners. And 89% of survivors reported that after their visit, they could see their path towards safety, healing, and hope. So even more than the sort of raw numbers about how many services were provided, how many people were seen, it's the experience that survivors themselves are reporting that's so outstanding for this past year, which means that, partners were doing an incredible job, not just serving survivors, but working together, making them feel comfortable, making them feel safe, making sure their children got what they needed, all those really critical elements to ensure that not just they're finding the building and not just they're finding the place that they can get those services, but they actually feel like they have the experience of feeling like those services are going to do something. They're going to offer that safety, and they're going to start offering that path towards healing. So overall, in 2024, we served 7,202 survivors total, and we provided 11,687 services. And so that is a 26% increase over 2023. And overall, since 2018, we've seen a 323% increase in survivors that are coming to the Family Justice Center. So over time, we've grown pretty substantially. So if you turn to page 5, that's where we can talk about our demographics and also services for the city of King City. So the first thing that I want to note, I know I share this with you every year, but reporting what city you're coming from is voluntary. And so we simply ask folks if they are okay sharing what city they're coming from or what zip code they're coming from. And so we have between 30 and 40% of folks that choose not to do that. And so just to note that the numbers are not going to be 100% across the board. So in 2024, the FJC provided 6 King City survivors with 7 services, which is actually a 33% decrease over 2023. Since 2021, we've provided 27 survivors from King City with 38 services. And so that the decrease, it happens, fluctuations go up and down. But that tells me that we need to increase outreach in the King City area. We need to make sure that we're getting information out into the King City community, that folks are able to find and access our information without having to look for it. One of the things that we know is extremely challenging for survivors in any situation is having to use any kind of technology or having to leave the house to search for places and information. And so having information about services for abuse in areas where people go anyway, such as libraries, grocery stores, in utility bills, in just local places that people wander, doesn't notify anybody that a survivor is potentially looking for survivor services, just as a safety measure. And so that was just a little bit of information about King City. And then in the next page, we highlight some of our awareness events. We're coming up to our next awareness month, which is April. And so in October, we do our Run for Hope for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And then in April, we do our Voices of Hope Survivor Art Gallery, which you can see a picture of up on the screen. But we're going to be doing those throughout the month of April because that is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, and Crime Victim Rights Week. And so that shows, this is just a nice little celebration of the events that we've done over the past year. And then in the last page, you can see all of the different partners that I talked about in overview. So if anybody has any questions about the report, any questions about King City's numbers, anything like that, I would be more than happy to answer those questions.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for what you guys do. I'm a family lawyer. I do a lot of child advocacy work in the area, both in Oregon and in California with domestic violence. And you really are doing God's work, so thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. If you or any of the counselors are ever interested in seeing the Family Justice Center or coming for a tour in the evenings, I would be more than happy to have you and show you around.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Rachel. Anyone else have any questions?
Okay.
The only question I have, Rachel, is how can we assist in helping you get the word out to King City residents?
That's a great question. So we have both electronic flyers, resources, posters, tear sheets that I'm happy to send. If this is Ronnie speaking, I'm happy to send these over to you, Ronnie. And you guys can distribute them, print them, have them in City Hall. You can put them up in the libraries, senior centers, community centers, anywhere that it would be helpful in your community where you know that your community gathers. They can also go into the schools. The other option is if you know of those places and you want hard copies of things, we can absolutely bring those out to you. What is wonderful is we have a really good relationship with our law enforcement partners. And so they carry survivor cards with them. And so they distribute those out when they go on the calls like we talked about. And so we make sure those are stocked, but also if there's any law enforcement in the room and you are low on those cards, I'd be more than happy to bring you some.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rachel, it's Chief Hopla, and we do need more
Hey.
cards.
Awesome. I will bring those out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you all so much for your support over the years. King City has always helped contribute to our operating expenses, so I really, really appreciate that. All of our cities in Washington County do. It's an incredible benefit to make sure that all these services continue to be available to our community. So thank you all so much for your time, and I just appreciate the invitation tonight.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, moving on to item B, we have the Washington County Sheriff's Office update.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Sheriff Massey wished she could be here tonight to give this presentation in person, but she's out of town. So I'm Under Sheriff John Cook, and this is Chief Deputy Al Roque, so we'll be giving you the presentation. Next slide, please. We're going to start off with wherever you live in Washington County, we serve you. We provide the county's only jail for all of Washington County, first of all. We also provide county-wide service to the over 616,000 community members. That's in a wide variety of ways. We have a lot of interagency teams, we have Marine Patrol, we have Search and Rescue, a lot of other teams that provide county-wide service, and will come into the cities, help out our city partners when they need that assistance. We're also the primary responders for the rural and unincorporated residents, as well as we have several municipal partner contracts. Cornelius, Banks, North Plains, and Gaston, we provide police services to those communities. And then we work with Chief Happel and his team to provide 24-hour record service down here in King City. One of the sheriff's main goals is to be the safest urban county. We saw that on the previous slide. We'll kind of go through this. We have our mission there, conserving the peace through value-driven service, and the three under those are core values. Those are not just something we put on the wall at Washington County. Every member of the Washington County Sheriff's Office knows those core values and lives by those. It's something that we really hold kind of near and dear to our hearts. The sheriff being in her first term, these strategic goals are in the process of being updated. We're looking for the next 5 to 10 years to make sure that we look out in the future and continue to grow and provide great service across Washington County. Next slide, please. This slide talks about the statutory duties of a sheriff. So people ask a lot of times what's the difference between a police department and a sheriff's office. There are a lot of similarities in the way that we provide service, the way that we serve the community. Those first two bullets up there are things that are common with our police partners across the county. The sheriff is mentioned in statutory in reference throughout ORS, and that's really because it's a historic elected office that's been serving Washington County since 1843. And so when we look through that, in addition to our regular police services that we share with our municipal partners, the sheriff's office is also responsible for providing court security for all the state and justice courts. We operate search and rescue across the county. A lot of people will think about that as maybe a lost hunter out in the Coast Range, but we also do urban search and rescue. If we have an Alzheimer's patient or a child with autism, our search and rescue can come into urban environments and also help locate those missing community members. We operate the county's only jail, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in future slides. We are responsible for executing civil process and court orders, that's evictions, garnishing wages, things that the courts will issue out. The sheriff has, we have a civil department that's responsible for serving those. And then we execute all warrants across the county. We process, issue, deny concealed handguns licenses throughout all of Washington County, and then enforce the laws on the waterways. So you'll see us out there at Hag Lake. We do patrol the Tualatin River periodically. Our Marine Patrol also helps in the city areas. If you have a boat and you need your boat inspected, our Marine Patrol can do that inside the urban areas as well. Next slide, please. Each of the council members have our 2023 report. We're a little bit late getting this one out just because the sheriff being in our first term, we're kind of getting through some of the bumps. We will get our 2024 report out in a more timely fashion this year. For those of you at home, or you can either scan the QR code there as well, or you can go to WCSOannualreport.com, and it gives you a snapshot of some of the great work our staff do across all of Washington County. We talked about managing Washington County's only jail. The current jail that we're in opened in 1998. I know Sheriff Garrett, before he retired, had come around to a lot of the municipalities talking about some of the issues we were dealing in Washington County. We have several housing units closed. Coming out of COVID, we had major staffing issues in the jail, and that really caused us to start closing down housing units and restricting some of the folks that we were able to bring into our custody. As our staffing has increased, we've been trying to get more to full operations. We still have several housing units closed due to staffing, and then also we have some major infrastructure repairs with the HVAC and some heating and cooling systems in the facility. And so we plan on having the facility completely updated by June of 2026. So throughout the next year, we're going to continue to have 1 or 2 housing units closed as we rotate the repairs through that facility, hoping it will last us for a great while longer. In the meantime, because we have the second smallest per capita jail in the state of Oregon, with those housing units closed, we have the smallest per capita jail in the state of Oregon. We're currently contracting a few beds out of Yamhill County, trying to relieve some of the pressure. And then the Community Correction Center, which is the restitution center across from the sheriff's office, they're also helping us house some of our adults in custody that are less volatile, and that they're able to maintain in there. We currently have about 75 adults in custody that are housed in the Community Correction Center. Next slide, please. I'm going to switch over to some of our law enforcement functions. I'll start off by saying we're really fortunate here in Washington County. We have great partnerships with our municipalities and the county. We all work so well together. You know, the Family Justice Center is a great example of that, how we all come together when we need to solve big problems. Policing is no different. We have great relationships with Chief Happel and his team, and none of our agencies can do this by ourselves. It really takes all of us to work together. And so one of the things we see as the sheriff's office, as we're looking at some of those countywide functions, policing has become increasingly complex and expensive over the last several decades. By us pulling our resources with our municipal partners and having a lot of interagency teams, we can respond to very complex situations across the county, and then we're able to provide a consistent professional level of service no matter where you live in Washington County. If you're in the King City, if you're in unincorporated Washington County, if you're out in the rural areas, we can help provide that consistent level of service for some of these more complex, large-scale incidents. And to go into more of that, I'll turn it over to Chief Deputy Roque.
Thank you, John. Good evening. I'm going to cover just a few of the interagency specialized teams. Please. First one I'm going to talk about is the mental health response team, MHRT. This is actually part of a crisis response system of care. So think of it as a three-pronged approach to mental health crisis response. First prong would be a crisis line, a 24-hour response line that anybody could call and describe what they're going through and get some help and resources, all just by phone. Second prong would be a mobile crisis team. So these are clinicians that go into the field and respond to crisis that meet certain criteria. This model is very similar to what Portland Street Response is doing now. We've been doing that for years. And then third prong is the mental health response team. So this is pairing a cop, a deputy, with a master's level clinician in a car on shift patrolling. We have 8 different teams that cover all 7 days of the week. They don't cover 24 hours a day, but they cover the prime window of call response or call activity. And we have participation from Hillsborough, Beaverton, and Tualatin, Tigard, Sherwood combined to add one person on a third by third of each city. The value of this is for those responses that have a danger element to it, sometimes threat. We could show up as law enforcement and control the danger part, which is kind of what we do, right? But then turn it over to the clinician to go through and kind of help de-escalate, help identify what resources are needed. And the real kind of secret sauce of this team is it diverts these people out of a criminal justice path or some other path and into a referral and a resource and a program that they could actually follow to actually get better versus potentially going to jail, which we all know is not the best place for somebody in mental health crisis. That's, to me, the real secret behind this. It's a partnership with Washington County Behavioral Health and LifeWorks Northwest. The clinicians are contracted with LifeWorks. And this has been going on for more than 10 years. It's been very successful. It's grown over the years. We've all heard about Cahoots down in Maine. This system models some of that, but then it takes it beyond with this MHRT pairing. The other thing that's really noteworthy here is they're really kind of experts in de-escalation. And so they use very, very, very surprisingly little force to resolve these situations. And we're talking about some of these crises that are pretty serious, people with weapons threatening harm, or some have actually done harm to themselves. Stats are amazingly low, like minuscule amounts of force used. Very impressive. Next slide, please. The next team is the West Side Interagency Narcotics Team, the WIN team. So this is the drug team for the county. We have partnership with different agencies on this team, including some federal partners. And the work they do is truly amazing. You don't see a lot of press releases from this team because a lot of the work they do is clandestine. And then once they do a seizure or take down a target, their objective is to move up the source of supply chain to find the next source, right? So if they take, drug dealer A out and that's a pound level dealer of meth, they want to find out that person's source of supply and go up the chain all the way on, in many cases, to foreign. And that's where the federal partnerships really. Some really fascinating statistics are appalling in some, depending on your perspective. For 2024 alone, the WIN team sees 1.4, the picture on the slide, 1.4 metric tons of liquid heroin. That is metric tons, yeah. Those are 55-gallon drums of heroin. Over 600 pounds of meth. Over 25,000 fentanyl pills, which is it's low for WIN. The last 3 years, for example, totaled 1.3 million fentanyl pills. So stats and the seizures are overwhelming. You can't do enough of this work. Imagine if this work was done. The other thing is this team tracks Narcan deployments across the entire county by all the city agencies. Is that question?
It's so nice to see that we're finally carrying Narcan. For so many years, nobody carried it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So we supply through county mental health, or HHS, we supply Narcan to the agencies, and then we track their usage and then resupply. And some of those stats have gone down in the last year only because Narcan is more readily carried by the public and more readily available. But overdoses, oddly enough, have not gone down. That's kind of interesting. Next slide, please. So this is kind of a package of teams that generally respond together. There's 4 different listed on the slide. The first one is the Tactical Negotiations Team, and that's our county SWAT team. The next one is the Crisis Negotiation Unit, which is the Hostage Negotiation Team. And then the Remotely Operated Vehicle Team, think drones and robots. The last one is the Incident Management Team. So the deployment would tip the call out, right? There'd be a crisis incident on the road in the city or in the county. TNT would be activated. CNU would also roll at the same time. They go together. ROVT would roll as well. And then oftentimes, not every time, INT goes. TNT is the traditional SWAT that you would think of and you see on TV with the armored vehicles and the, all the heavy gear and the extra tactics and weaponry and all that stuff. One of the things that we refer to this team as is an escalation in safety, because their primary mission is to resolve something with the lowest level of force possible. That is their objective pretty much every time they go out. How they do that is by utilizing the tactics and the equipment and try to simplify the situation and slow it down, contain it, and then knock the suspect out of the situation. And that's where the marriage of the CNU, the Crisis Negotiation Team. ROVT plays a big role in it because if the situation, it's more dangerous to send a human to go looking for a thing than it is to send a robot, right? So why not fly a drone into a house, into a field, into a whatever, to see if there's somebody standing there holding a gun or doing a whatever thing that we're trying to see. Oftentimes, the ROVT drones will deploy before any of the tactical operators will actually make any kind of entry or do anything like that. We've actually had times when suspect has surrendered to the drone that confronted them inside the house that they were buried. Because you could talk through the drone to the people. It's actually kind of cool to watch the video. And then INT's role in this is primarily to provide an infrastructure for the oversight of the incident. So there's a 34-foot long mobile command vehicle with a bunch of extra equipment, monitors, communications equipment, et cetera, so that the tactical commander can have scene awareness and have the ability to manage all the resources, because all these teams add up to a lot of people showing up to an incident. In some cases, more than 50, depending on the incident. That's a lot of things to kind of be in charge of and know where everything is and make sure they're coordinated and communicated with. So the IMT provides a structure for the command to have the ability to manage all that. They also provide, it's not just for tactical, because they also provide that same kind of structure for like complicated forensics investigation. Take the Tesla shooting, it's been going on in Tigard the last couple. Or if there's a homicide and there's a large forensic kind of need and big investigation, IMT will provide the command structure for that.
Thank you, Al. Just as we kind of wrap up, looking forward to the next couple of years. Well, we talked about a lot of the jail capacity issues. It seems pretty counterintuitive when we're short-staffed and have some housing units closed, but we are looking long-term. So we're looking out to 2055, 30 years, to what kind of services we need in Washington County. We currently have a contractor that's doing a study of our Washington County Jail and the ecosystem to see what kind of services we're going to need to provide. There'll be more to come on that, but it's no surprise we lack the space that we need. And the jail of tomorrow looks much different than the jail of yesterday. And so having a lot more mental health services, addiction services, and being able to provide a lot of that support to a lot of the adults in custody is really essential. And so we know that the next jail will look markedly different. We talked about facilities updates. We have a lot of facilities updates going on throughout the sheriff's office. We have a new courthouse that's coming into the sheriff's office, and that brought in another judge. It displaced a lot of our jail administration, so we're running out of space. We're looking countywide where we can find additional space. That second courthouse really helps us out. The adults in custody in the jail, we don't have to take them across the street to the courthouse. We're able just to get them in front of the judge and their attorney right there in the facility. Last piece we'll talk about is the public safety local option levy. A lot of those countywide services we talked about are funded through the public safety local option levy, and that's going to be on the ballot in November of 2025. We're still working with the county what that is going to look like, but when we get that information, we will come back to you all and share it with you. With that, next slide, I will open it up and see if there are any questions. Hearing none at all. Thank you all for your time this evening, and we appreciate it. Have a good evening. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Next up, we are, am I off mute, right? Yep. We're doing the National Community Development Week proclamation. Mr. Weston, could you read it since my, I'll probably cough through the whole thing.
Sure. So the proclamation is the National Community Development Week, April 21st through April 25th, 2025. Whereas the week of April 21st through April 25th, 2025 has been designated as the National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low and moderate income people. And whereas the Home Investment Partnership Program provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. Nationally, over 1 million units of affordable housing have been completed using Home Fund. And whereas over the program's history, our community has received a total of excellent dollars there. It's over $1 million in CDBG funds, and Washington County as a whole has received a total of $10,568,056 in CDBG funds and $8,439,604 in Home Fund over the past 5 years. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of King City designates the week of April 21st through April 25th, 2025 as National Community Development Week in support of these two valuable programs that have made tremendous contributions to the viability of the housing stock, infrastructure, public services, and economic vitality of our community. Be it further resolved that the community urges Congress and the administration to recognize this outstanding work being done locally and nationally by the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnerships Program by supporting increased funding for both programs in the fiscal year 2025 and through 2026. That's signed by Mayor Mark Pinellas and attested by Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Weston. Is that all we need to do on these, or is there other action we have to?
We need do they want a motion, or?
You don't, for a proclamation, you don't need a motion.
All right.
It's just the mayor designating it.
All right.
And then,
No other action, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the Fair Housing Month proclamation.
All right. Here we go. Proclamation, Fair Housing Month of April 2025. Whereas the year 2025 marks the 57th anniversary of the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act, Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, and whereas this law guarantees that housing throughout the United States should be made available to all community members without regard to race, color, religion, gender, familial status, disability, or national origin. And whereas Oregon Fair Housing Law guarantees that housing throughout the state of Oregon should be made available to all community members without regard to marital status, sources of income, sexual orientation, including gender identity, and survivors of domestic violence. And whereas equality of opportunity for all is a fundamental policy of this nation, state, and county. And whereas barriers which diminish the rights and limit the options of any community member will ultimately diminish the rights of all community members. And whereas only with the cooperation, commitment, and support from all the residents of Washington County can barriers to the enjoyment of this and the other aspects of equality of opportunity for all be removed. Now therefore be it resolved that Washington County Board of Commissioners.
Why is that in there?
It should be King City Council. Now therefore be it resolved that King City Council hereby proclaims April 25th to be Fair Housing Month and encourages all community members to support and endorse fair housing, reaffirm their commitment to fair housing for all, and wholeheartedly recognize these rights and responsibilities throughout the year. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of King City, Oregon, to be affixed to this first day of April 2025. Mayor Mark Pinellas.
you read it again.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Weston.
So it's just a question, were we asked to do these, or like, where do these come, I'm just curious, like, do we do this every year? Where is
We
it?
do.
Okay.
Yeah, every year that they'll send out their proclamations. The CDBG program is one that we have. I think Councilor Tuxo is our primary rep.
Yeah.
Sits
I
on
can
that
say
board.
something.
And they're the ones that do the fair housing and everything. So they send this out to get community support. And we sign them, we send them back, and that's how they pursue the federal funding with the support of the community.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
All right, thank you. Moving on to open forum. Open forum is intended to ensure the community has an opportunity to provide input for items being considered on the agenda or make suggestions for future agendas. At this time, the council will be happy to receive your comments with the exception of public hearings for which testimony will be received and conducted in the proper form and manner at the time of the hearing. Each person's time will be limited to 3 minutes. Public comments and testimony may be presented in person or via Zoom. You may submit written public comments electronically on the city website or via email to the King City Recorder, Ronnie Smith. All electronics must be submitted before noon on the day of the meeting. The information you provide will be collected and retained per Oregon Revised Statutes, Public Records Policy, and in some limited cases, the information may be exempt from these regulations. That I think I'm good. Oh yeah, visitors may state their comments and should not expect the governing body to discuss the statement or issue in back and forth dialogue. Okay, so we have a few online. We'll start online with Don Mobley.
All right, thank you. Can you guys all hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thanks. All right, so I'm Dawn Mobley. I live at 17030 Southwest 137th. I am just speaking today. I actually emailed this out to most of you, and I just wanted to it was a little late, so I just wanted to make sure I read it out loud too. So it's in regards to the resolution 2025-02. And I just wanted to recognize that this resolution is the first step in showing that the city's willingness to hear the community in concerns. And I appreciate that the conversation for the relook at the TSP is now open and that the city is trying to clarify where it will use eminent domain. I do have a few questions and I thought maybe you guys could cover these tonight. Under the comment or the commitment, of property rights, last meeting, so not the work session, but the actual council meeting from February, that Councilor Braverman asked that all of King City be included under this clause, and Weston had said that it wasn't possible because the city has development agreements with new homes that puts King City on the hook to acquiring the right-of-way. And I wanted to understand by maybe showing of a map or making sure that you guys understand where these areas of right-of-way would be affected by these development agreements with new homes. That was one question. And then another question is, how does the new homes development agreement affect the Edgewater properties to where the West Side Trail corridor is, and where would, corridor would need to be excluded, and why would that need to be excluded from the resolution? So that's kind of what I didn't understand how the connection with Edgewater and the new homes made sense, because the developments are on the other, west side, and the West Side Corridor Trail is on the east, kind of in the middle, but in the east side. So that was a question. And then under the commits to future periodic review. Again, at the February council meeting, our attorney, Mr. Watts, told Councilor Braverman that he would call Metro and look into the availability of grant money for the relook of the TSP. And I just don't understand why our city attorney, why his job responsibilities would cover grant acquisitions. It seemed very confusing to me. It doesn't seem normal why the city would be paying attorney fees to have that kind of scope of work done when you probably should be utilizing the city planning office. I also wanted to know why the city is not making a commitment to provide budgeting for the relook in the upcoming budget for the 25-26 year. That wasn't noted anywhere in the resolution. And then I also wanted to know if the $658,880 that was part of the ARAP funds that were transferred over to the general fund back in April of 2024, why those couldn't be used towards the relook. So those are just some of the questions I would hope that maybe you guys could cover tonight. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The timer to stop. There it is. Okay, and then next up online we have Shailet Samoy. Looks like you're muted. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Hi. Thank you. Thank you and good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, and everyone in attendance. My name is Shailet from Edgewater. I'm following up. I wrote to you earlier in the year, last month actually, in February, raising my objections to West Side Trail, and I'm here to emphasize my objections. I mentioned you had the resolution R20252 about eminent domain, and I asked about that in my my last correspondence to you. I said, it looks to me the city is giving preferential treatment one area and not to us. So I am here, I continuously am objecting to your West Side Trail. And resolution 2025, I see you have it on your agenda, and I'm happy about that. And I would like to ask you if you guys can all vote no on it. It is not good to us. It does not protect the people in Edgewater, the West Side Trail. We don't want it. That is what I'm here to object to. I think, okay, and that's it on the resolution. And there is, I'm sure you have all noticed, for those who haven't noticed it, about RICO, RICO people going around, and these people, and I really support these people because they are not happy, and I'm not happy about what is happening. King City is not just cars, streets, and houses. You're wanting to put different trail. That's what you are looking at, and that's not good for us. King City is the people, the river, the streams, the wetlands, the wildlife, and all the natural vegetation. But you want to get rid of that. So I appeal to you to think again on the West Side Trail, please. I'm one of those people who is going to be heavily affected by your West Side Trail. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that's all we had for online. Now we have in council chambers there. First up, we have John Cook. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. John Cook, Unincorporated, Washington County. Mayor Manella to council. I wanted to provide an update regarding community dialogue group that Councilor Tyso inquired about last month. The past few months, I've been part of a small community dialogue group where each member has brought a unique perspective. Through open discussions about the Kingston Terrace Transportation System Plan, we have found common ground and worked collaboratively towards a shared vision for the city, one that we believe will help unite the community. We held our final joint meeting last night, and we are excited about the direction the group is taking. We look forward to sharing our vision and proposal with the council in the next 3 to 4 months after refining and formally documenting our findings. Like tonight's resolution, we hope our proposal will contribute to reuniting the community and rebuilding the trust among our citizens. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next up, we have Greg Russell. Mr. Russell.
My name is Greg Russell. I'm unincorporated Washington County, and actually have 2 items for this evening. One is on Council Resolution 2025-02. There was a council work session that modified the previous resolution. If you're intending to vote on this resolution, I'd like to ask you to consider, this resolution excludes some areas of the use of eminent domain, but allows the city to use eminent domain in other areas like the Edgewater HOA property. The city attorney uses the term extraterritorial to define areas outside the city that wouldn't be subject to eminent domain, as if the city was alleviating the concerns with the resolution. But the city does not have the authority to use eminent domain outside of the city, so it would seem that this resolution further proves that it has no merit by promising something they don't have the right to promise. The use of eminent domain is a very hostile act, and one that will likely have negative consequences for the city and its relationship with the community. Petrol is not allowed to use eminent domain for trails and strongly discourages municipalities from doing the same. I'm encouraging you to vote no on this resolution and to draft a resolution that strongly discourages eminent domain by the city or the threat of eminent domain in all instances except for matters of public safety. My second item here, and I'll pass it out to everybody here. So this has to do with the King City, Oregon branch post office. I strongly encourage King City to start the process to petition the United States Post Office to create a King City, Oregon branch post office to replace the branch that was located in McCann's Pharmacy for many years. King City, by the way, does meet all the criteria required by Congress. This criteria includes a population of over 2,500, streets that are paved, streets that are named, and street signs that are in place, and house numbers that are assigned. Congress is authorized to establish a King City Post Office under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 7, a simple King City letterhead, and communications with the following representatives will start the process. So I've included the names, the addresses, and the phone numbers of Senator Ron Wyden, Senator Jeff Merkley, and Representative Andrew Salinas. So I strongly encourage you to move in this direction, and I think you'll find overwhelming support from King City and renew some trust back into King City government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russell. Next up on the list, we have Rachel Asher. Ms. Asher.
Rachel Ager, and I live in unincorporated Washington County. I am going to be suggesting an agenda item. Detailed records of legal expenditures have been requested by multiple city councilors at council meetings, including those held in June, November, December, January, and February. The records have yet to be produced. Specifically, the legal expenses incurred for the Secretary of State challenge, the unconstitutional appointment of Scott Otoli, and the expenses incurred to date for the exclusion of Sandy Cunningham from the council interview process have been requested. I'd like to suggest that this intentional act to disregard the repeated requests by City Council should be considered a breach of the city manager's duties as described in Section 5.03 of the City Charter. If all detailed expense reports and itemized attorney invoices dating back to the Secretary of State challenge are not provided to the Council promptly, I suggest you add an agenda item for the next meeting to discuss this troubling matter, including potential disciplinary action for the city manager's obvious attempt to conceal financial information from the council and from the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Gretchen Boehner.
Good evening. I'm not going to talk about anything very controversial. Gretchen Boehner, I live at 16585 Southwest Royalty Parkway. I was appointed to the Charter Review Committee a few months ago. I've been contacted by a couple of other folks who were appointed about the fact that there's been nothing has occurred to get us set up so we can start our work. Having been on one of these committees before, it generally takes more than a year for the committee to put its plan together. And then elections that can go to the public are the May and November elections. If we were to try to go for the May 26th primary, we would have to have the report done by the end of the year to allow it come to before council to be approved, and then have the ballot title written and approved by council. It has to go in the third week in February. For the general election in November of 26, the same thing has to happen by the middle of August. That it has to be to the elections folks. With that thought in mind, the committee members would like to get to work. We will need some staff support to do our work, and we're requesting that council direct the city manager to get things going for our committee so we can do our work for you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next up, Dan Brenner, Mr. Brenner.
Good evening. My name is Dan Brenner. I live on River Lane in Rivermead, and we were formed in 1948. Regarding this new resolution, point 3 speaks to not using eminent domain to acquire private property from 137 to 150th for the southern east-west corridor. I'd like a better definition of that term. Given that the north-south alignment of 137 has been the urban growth boundary separating Rivermead from King City. That same line of 137 continues south to the Tualatin River and is the existing property line behind the homes on River Lane. This continues to the southern point of the Rivermead Park at the river. That being said, I would like to ensure that the language of this resolution be amended to include that the property of this park will be given the same protection against eminent domain. Remind you, remember that the TSP shows a connection, Shakespeare, via 136, Montague, another route across the field to connect to River Lane. This would be just one more road that the city manager has said need to be built in conjunction with the West Side Trail, whenever that comes to fruition. This road would also be crossing the property that belongs to Edgewater. Speaking of that, property owned by Edgewater also be included in the umbrella of protection of land against eminent domain. In fact, why not just remove eminent domain from King City entirely? As for the topic of the possibility of a relook at the TSP, you've said that you need to get a grant for a relook. I don't understand what Mr. Watts said last month's council meeting. Doing a relook was the topic. In response to Councilor Braverman, he said, process for Metro grant is usually cyclical, and usually cities will do the work, and then at a later date, we'll get a grant bid. That 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 45 seconds of that meeting. I'd like to know what he meant. Maybe you could ask him that. To me, that means that you can at least make the effort to honestly discuss what a relook could result in without having to have a grant approval beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brenner. And next up, we have Carl Swanson. Mr. Swanson.
Thank you. Giving a copy of my statement, and thank you all for allowing me to speak.
Agenda item number 1 today for this meeting is goal setting, including a time for council to discuss goals. I have specific suggestions for goals, and I've grouped those under these 5 topics. Listen to your community, regain the trust of your community, respect your community, act on community values, and demonstrate integrity by showing transparency. First, listen to your community. The overwhelming opposition to the extension of Fisher Road has been obvious for many years. Council approved an unpopular, flawed, and tainted TSP, and then refused to fix the TSP even after the community recalled the councilors that voted for it. The only reason the recall petition signatures were not turned in for Councilor Mark Manellis during the 2024 recall was because he promised to work with the community and review potential changes to the TSP, and then he failed to act on that promise. As new recall signatures were gathered in 2025, and 578 signatures were submitted last week after only 2 weeks of circulating the petition. Based on our success, we are confident that if we had utilized the full 90-day signature period, we'd have far exceeded the 871 signatures gathered to recall Councilor. Next item, regain the trust. We follow the King City Code and charter. Don't allow the city attorney and current city manager to convince you to violate community's trust. Don't appoint a friend or trusted supporter to an open council position when there had just been a community vote that clearly spoke to who they wanted on council. Respect your community. The newly elected councilors with the respect they deserve. The community elected them to speak for us. Don't disrespect them, and don't disrespect us. Act on community values. Respect private property. Promise not to use eminent domain for roads or parks or development. Respect Bankston Nature Preserve by not planting a road through it. Respect the Rivermead Association's park by not planting a road through it. Respect the Edgewater Association by reversing your Fisher Road connection designation changes. Stop using park planning simply as a ruse and funding source to extend Fisher Road. Next item, demonstrate integrity by showing transparency. Provide a complete legal fee and court cost documentation requested by former Councilor Randy Olson. Provide the complete legal fee and court cost documentation for the misguided and failed attempt to fight the Secretary of State's office and deny the Oregon State constitutional right of everyone in this community to vote to recall city councilors. Provide the complete legal fee and court cost documentation for the misguided and failed attempt to defend the unconstitutional reappointment of recalled councilor Mark Ciccoli. Provide and update the ongoing legal fees and court costs for the current trial to defend the rushed council actions that appointed John Hartman to council and disrespected the community by ignoring the votes that clearly showed who we wanted on council. And that's all I have. Again, thank you.
Thank you.
And last, we have Mike Meyer. Mr. Meyer.
Mike Meyer, unincorporated Washington County. And I wasn't going to speak tonight, but the first thing I want to do is echo what John Cook had to say. I'm very encouraged by the process that we were just a part of. And going forward, I hope that ends up with good results. So I wasn't going to speak tonight, like I said, but the 2 presentations earlier kind of prompted me to get up here with the Family Justice Center and with Washington County Sheriff's. We have a bulletin board in the King City Park that is underutilized. There's 1 flyer in there for King City Police Department. So if Family Justice Center is providing you with some sort of flyers or information, I think that would be a good use. Put it in that bulletin board, along with maybe any kind of crisis hotlines or whatnot, as Washington County Sheriff's is talking about. So along those same lines, I also got out tonight's agenda. And in your municipal code, it does state that you have to notify the public as to the meeting time and place for the agenda. And so there was no notification in the paper. I don't think King City has been providing a notice in the newspaper for public announcement for the council meetings. So if they don't publish paper, I believe it has to be posted in 3 public places. And so I just walked out a few minutes ago, looked at the bulletin board outside of City Hall, and this meeting is not in the bulletin board. It's not in the bulletin board in the park. It's nowhere inside of City Hall here. It's not at KCCA. So once again, and I think don't quote me on this, but I think it might be 2.38040. It might be something completely different, but it's a section missed under agenda.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll look it up, but in case you're interested, that's where it's at. And you just need to keep in mind that your municipal code is a city ordinance. The city ordinance is the city law. And you all take an oath to support the ordinances of the city of King City. So it's not something to be just cast aside or disregarded or ignored. It's your responsibility to follow the ordinances of the city of King City. This is just one very small example, and there are many, and the list is growing very long. But I would start off by utilizing your bulletin boards and putting them to good use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We have item number 7. We have unfinished business. Resolution 2025-02, a resolution regarding property acquisition. Mr. Weston.
Thank you. In your packet is the revised version of the resolution that we worked on in the work session. As council directed, you can read through that. This is basically took everything that the council instructed us to do, incorporated here, got rid of some of the whereases, changed the order, changed some of the language as the council had requested in the work session, and this is the version that the council had requested.
So I think Mayor, is it okay if we have a discussion?
Yes, I wanted to have a discussion on this.
Great, because after listening to the public comment, I do think we should talk this through a little bit differently. I mean, if I'm hearing what the constituents are saying, is that they have a problem, especially with item number 3. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit more among ourselves, because I do understand where they're coming from. We did discuss this in our work session about just removing the whole idea of eminent domain. We did discuss, all of us discussed about the fact that the word eminent domain feels very threatening. It sounds threatening. And I'm wondering, what is the harm, since our council advised us that this resolution isn't even binding on future council members? What is the harm for us to just adopt a resolution that just says we're not using eminent domain in the city of King City and the surrounding areas? What is the harm of doing that?
Multiple levels, I would say. Imagine, if you will, that there's a situation that we can't predict, and then all of a sudden we do need to use eminent domain to get that situation, whether it's a water line, sewer line, a road intersection, whatever it is. The idea is it's a tool in the toolbox that cities and utilities and municipalities have. And it's the last resort. It's the last thing that we want. And as we put in here, our desire is to negotiate for a fair sale of property. That's our ultimate goal, is to always negotiate with property and to always have a voluntary transaction. That's our number one goal. I'm not an eminent domain expert, and I would say that if you want to go down that path, I would highly encourage you to speak with attorneys that utilize eminent domain, or other cities, counties, municipalities that may have had to use eminent domain in the past before you remove that as a city.
Right, but you have here in number 1, and we all agree to put this as number 1 on the resolution, that the city will endeavor for voluntary land acquisition agreements. I think if we can just keep it there, I think everybody knows that the city has the legal right I don't think we need to put that in this resolution, and we discussed this a little bit. Again, I'm trying to respond to the constituency, and I'm asking my city council members to join me in just trying to adhere to the voices of our constituency and the voters. And it doesn't take away our right to do what we need to do if it is proper and necessary. It just says we're just taking that out of this resolution.
So,
Are you saying to strike number 3?
Well, or to just,
Yeah.
we could strike number 3, Mayor, or we could just say that we are endeavoring for voluntary land acquisition agreements and leave it at that, and keep the future periodic review and future council consideration, because again, nobody can predict the future, but the way this is worded, given the feedback we're getting from our constituents, okay? I'm just listening to the audience today, and I'm hearing what they're saying, and I'm just trying to see if we could make a modification to the resolution that would bring back the trust and transparency and this list that was given to us about listening to our community and regaining their trust.
Okay, if we strike number 3, because we're talking about a specific area, if you strike that, and then if you strike that, then by implication, the use of eminent domain would still be a possibility. And I think we were trying to make a strong statement that for this particular area where there has been a lot of concern, that we were going to tell the public that we would not use the tool of eminent domain in that particular area. And so, maybe this needs to be 2 resolutions instead of 1. I don't know, but that's just my rambling thought.
I don't see a legal, I'm not our attorney, but eminent domain is under the United States Constitution. The City Council can never waive a constitutionality right under the Constitution. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is we're not saying we're never going to use it. We're just saying, why don't we just say, we are endeavoring to acquire land voluntarily, and that includes all of King City and the surrounding area, and just leave it at that. I don't see how that harms us in any legal fashion, because like I said, we don't have the legal right as a city council to waive a constitutional right.
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Councilor Rearman. I think but Councilor Tyso was correct too in her assessment. The intent here was to alleviate concerns. And that was the majority of the intent of this resolution from the discussions with, like I had mentioned in the work session with the developer group that former Mayor Cook was part of and Mr. Meyer were part of. It's alleviate some of those concerns that came out of that, as well as my conversation with former Councilor Olson. And so those were their big concerns about that corridor on the Fisher extension from 137th to 150th. And so the entire intention of going down this purpose was, one, to say, yes, our primary intention is to negotiate with property owners first and foremost. And that this council is agreeing that they are not going to use eminent domain on that segment to force some road, to give them some peace that they have been concerned that we're going to put a road through.
We mentioned this in the work session, and we brought it up, and it seemed like there was consensus among our council and among Mr. Watts that we write a letter to this area, you know, that we could either do a second resolution just for this area if you needed that, or I had suggested an actual letter signed by all of us to address that need. But I would really hate to see us lose this opportunity to listen to our community, regain the trust, respect them, show that we are endeavoring to only acquire land voluntarily. Everybody knows you have the constitutional right. There's no way to, we don't have authority to waive that. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just think that's important to address your earlier mentioned concern. And I think it would make all of us feel better if we could reword this so that the community feels better about it being equal to all. And that's all I'm hearing. And I don't think I don't think we're giving away anything by rewording our resolution. Do you guys agree with me? Jenny, if you have a say, do you want to chime in anything?
I think we should take another look at it, discuss it, and maybe come up with something better.
Okay. I'm good with that. John, do you have any input?
The only input I have is that we all sat and talked about this for a good 2 hours and came up with this, and we thought we were hitting the mark. So I feel like this is a good step. I hear what everybody is saying. It's disappointing to me that I feel like we've now wasted 2 hours of our lives trying to do something, and now we can't do it. I would still vote to pass this as a step and agree that there should be a further discussion, but this still, as written and we all agreed what this should say before we left that work session. So that's the only piece I'm struggling with, is we walked out of there as a team saying this is what we were putting forth. And now, and I do hear everybody's comments, I do think there's some more work to be done, but that's where I'm struggling, to be very honest. We're just spinning in circles. Let's do something, please.
Well, I hear Councilor Hartman, but I always feel that anytime we sit down and try to work something out, it's not spinning our wheels. I thought we made a lot of progress. And I'd like to compliment my council members, including the mayor and you and Mr. Watson, trying to really, I thought we worked really well together, and I thought it was a really good session, and I was really proud of it, and I don't feel any at all remorseful, even though I got in trouble from work for being there. Anyway, I'm trying to have to work late tonight to make that up. But I would like to see, if it's okay with the mayor, I would like to make a motion that we once again edit this. And I'm happy to volunteer my time to help us do that. And
Your edit to remove number 3.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need a motion. We can just go through, like, if we want to remove number 3, we can, in the motion, right? We could say, you know, we want what's the resolution on it? 2025-02, you know, approve removing item number 3. Something along those lines.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We could do that, but I also just want to say in number 1 that the city, I want to edit to number 1 that says the city will endeavor for voluntary land acquisition agreements if necessitated. I want to add throughout King City and the surrounding areas. That's what I'd like to add into number 1.
So by removing number 3, aren't you doing that?
Well, I'm listening to the comments, and that's what I'm hearing they want put in here, and I don't see any harm in doing that. I see zero harm, and I see immense gain from community involvement, listening, adhering, trust, community values, transparency. I feel that just inserting that would go a very long way from what I heard from all the people talking tonight.
So can you repeat that? So number 1, necessitated throughout the city?
I would say the city will endeavor for voluntary land acquisition agreements if necessitated throughout King City and the surrounding areas. And I would also say, to Mayor's point, we could take out 3, and Mike, if you need us to do something different for that, we would do that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have the right to use eminent domain if it is not annexed in our city, we do.
Yeah,
We have to draw a nexus, essentially.
Okay.
Between the need, the public need, and go from there. But, it is a process that other agencies do.
Would you say it within our urban growth boundary? I'm trying to define what we mean by surrounding area.
Yeah.
I want to be a little more
Something that we
specific.
would want to do,
Yeah.
it's just a long, drawn-out, expensive process. And
Oh,
it's
sure.
not the way that we want to go about doing business.
I just think that the wording, to put that in there, it never takes away our constitutional, I mean, we don't have the authority. We
All
just
you
don't.
can do is make a commitment as a council that you're not going to use the Constitution.
And that's all everybody's asking us to do, and that's all they've been asking us to do, is what I'm hearing, unless I'm wrong, that's what I'm hearing.
On a larger scale, are you saying citywide? Like I was saying earlier, if you try to do a citywide thing, I think it's really important that you have all the facts in front of you. And to do that, I think you need to bring in an attorney who focuses on eminent domain, as well as maybe some consultants who have worked with eminent domain and could give you a full briefing on all the uses and the needs for it. There's a litany of things that we can't determine right in front of us at any given time, and so it just is.
You know, I don't want to give away my age, but I do remember when Chief Justice Sandra Day O'Connor voted with the majority on the U.S. Supreme Court about the Fifth Amendment expanding the city municipalities into eminent domain. It's in our U.S. Constitution. It's in our case law. We can't waive it. It's unfortunately. So I don't see the harm here to edit number 1, remove number 3, and if anybody else has any suggestions, and if, you know, I'm open, but again, I don't see how it harms us in any way, shape, or form. The benefits outweigh the harm, and there isn't any harm that I see.
I concur with your assessment. It doesn't harm us. What I would say is it doesn't do very much to assuage the concerns of the people that live in Rivermead and beyond. But, you know, we do have in here, it's our intention to work in good faith with people. So, and if that's what the council wants, then you're the ones that.
Whether we keep it as is or we amend it, it's going to have basically the same effect, except that people are saying that this is upsetting them. They feel it's unequal treatment to some and others. And we mentioned that. We talked about it at our work session. We were trying to find a compromise. And this was the compromise that we all came up with, and I'm proud of our work. And I think we're just editing it further, like you edit a letter, and I think we could vote on it and pass it today.
So you're proposing we have a gentleman's agreement, so to speak, regarding negotiations with the people who live in Rivermead, et cetera.
Well,
meaning that.
Yeah, we have it here. We voted in the first one. We will endeavor for voluntary land acquisition agreements. It didn't even say where.
Yeah.
So it was pretty. It was there already. We're not really changing it. We're just making it more clear that we're going to try to work more cooperatively instead of having this threat of eminent domain in here. That's how I see it.
It's your decision.
Eminent domain is always in the background, though. And I think we were trying to remove that from a specific geography. And I don't know whether that's legal or not, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, I raised
Well,
the
it's just a
question.
commitment from the council, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's what this is.
We're not changing law. We're just making a public commitment.
Yeah, we're not changing law. Anyway, Mayor, if you're okay with my edits, we can put it to a vote with the edits, or whatever your pleasure is, Mayor.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's go ahead and get a
So
motion.
I'm adding the word, if necessitated, so the city will endeavor for voluntary land acquisition agreements if necessitated within King City and surrounding area, period. The city will engage in good faith negotiations with property owners. Okay, so that stays in. We're taking out number 3 entirely, and the rest stays the same. Do you want me to make a formal motion, Mayor?
Yeah, no, was that your motion?
That's my motion. My motion was to edit number 1, take out number 3, and see if anybody else had any other comment. Otherwise, I would call for the vote.
Okay, is there a second?
Jenny just seconded it. Thank you. Okay, and Vince.
Second.
Okay,
We have
good.
a motion and a second on the floor. Mayor, do you want to call for discussion? Motion and second.
Yeah, do we have any further discussion?
So do you want to vote? Should we vote?
Not hearing any, let's go ahead and we can move it to a vote.
All those in favor, please by show of hands. At 5. All those opposed? All those abstained? And you have a reason there?
Yeah, my reasoning is I believe that Councilor Braverman has a direct conflict of interest since she is also the HOA president for Edgewater and is a sitting councilor.
Motion passes 5-0-1.
All right, thank you. Moving on, we have new business. We have Resolution 2025-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of King City, Oregon, appointing the budget officer for the fiscal year to 2025 through 2026. Mr. Weston.
Every year we go through and appoint a budget officer. Typically, we've done it during our budget hearing. We have a joint meeting with the council and the budget committee. The law is going to change a little bit, and so they're asking that we appoint the budget officer early. In this case, we're appointing the budget officer. We're asking to appoint the budget officer as our CPA, Katie Carpenter, and Mira San Juan, our finance manager. So we're asking to designate those two individuals as our budget officer to prepare our budget and bring it forward to the budget committee. And the budget calendar is on there. Yep. That is part of the resolution.
Yep.
All right. And to adopt the budget calendar, if you flip the page, you can see all the dates. Please mark your calendars for the date and time. These are day meetings, by the way. 9:30 a.m. Be May 5th will be the first budget committee meeting. And then the May 21st is when we have the budget hearing before the city council. If the council's okay with those two items, we're asking for the passage of resolution 2025-06.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I couldn't hear if that was done. Is there any discussion on this?
I just make a motion to vote.
Second. Motion to vote on.
To pass. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-06.
Yep. Any discussion? All right, let's take it to a vote.
All those in favor, by show of hands, please. 4, 5, 6, 0, unanimous.
Any discussion? All right, thank you. Moving on to new business item B, Charter Committee appointment. Mr. Weston.
We have a former elected that has submitted his application. Former Mayor John Cook resides in the King City Urban Growth Boundary area, just south of Fisher Road, in an area that we hope someday bring into King City. But he has volunteered so graciously to join our charter committee and hopefully complete our ranks so that we can get going with the much anticipated charter revisions. We are recommending approval of his win.
So is it okay to ask the question or not? Well, my only question is, Mr. Cook, are you somebody who believes in the shared power of city council and city manager, or are you somebody who has more of the philosophy that the city manager should have all the control of the city?
First of all, I would see what that relates, but as for the city charter, I would propose that the committee, the public committee, put it together, and the way the process works is that it comes to the council votes on what those issues are. So whatever the committee puts together, you guys will have a say in and put it out for the voters. That's what I propose.
Okay, but that didn't answer my question about your, okay, so you're not gonna answer it. Okay, well, that's a problem.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, my concern is just that, I want to make sure that this charter committee has a well-rounded representation. And so I'm not sure having somebody from outside of King City that doesn't understand the unique value that we have as a shared city council and city manager is a good fit for what we need to do. So that's just my thought right now, especially when that person won't even answer the question. That's a concern.
I think that you're missing the value that Mr. Cook can bring with his long expertise in being the mayor of Tigard, and he is a part of this community. So I understand your concern. I don't think the question was meant to, we're talking about an offense of the thing. So I get what John is saying, but I don't agree with what you just said about John. I don't know if everybody I don't know what the list, I haven't looked at the whole list. Is everybody a King City resident in our?
For the most part, most of the people on are from King City. I think that was one of the initial stipulations, was that they would be King City residents. This would directly impact King City.
And then this group agreed to allow elected officials from outside for 2. John was the only one that put his name in. So I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice of using his expertise to at least help inform us.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Cook's long history in local government, and then also just coming off of the Tigard Charter Review Committee. He would bring a wealth of knowledge. And then he has also been part of the group working with some of the residents in regards to the TSP. So I think he's a very reasoning voice that would be really good to have on our committee. Is there any other discussion?
I think I just want to make a comment. I don't believe our charter committee would necessarily be trying to change the emphasis of the form of government that we have. And I could be wrong, but I mean.
Well, and anything that the charter committee puts forward, right? It has to go to a vote to the citizens. So it's not like it could be changed just by a committee.
So you are saying that the charter committee puts forth recommendations and we kind of go yes or no, and then it goes before the voters to say yes or no. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. But to Mr. Hartman's earlier point, he felt like he wasted his time when he sat in our work session for 2 hours because we made a change. So I'm concerned, if we're gonna have this charter committee put in this kind of time, and then you're saying that the city council can change it. I've been voicing this consistently since our first meeting together, January and February, and now March, where I feel that we really need people on a charter committee that really embodies what King City would like to have, not what Tigard has or didn't have or would have or another city, but what our unique city is and what our values are. And going back to the comment that we had earlier about our community and our values, I would like to see our charter committee really follow that more closely. So I'm going to voice loudly in favor of not appointing somebody from outside of King City to our charter committee.
Yeah, thanks, Councilor Braverman. And I believe, I don't think there was many more people knocking down the door to come on to the Charter Review Committee. It's been open for several months now, and we got our initial applications from residents that came in, and then there was no more. So. All right, do I have then a motion to approve the appointment of John Cook to the Charter Review Committee?
Second.
Moved. That's the second ever.
Okay, so we have the first and a second. Do we have any more discussion?
John's a good guy. He'll be fair. I've had workings with him before. Let's just do this.
Thanks, Councilor Arditi.
Even though he went to
Mayor,
Oregon
you wanna
State,
call
he's
for-
not a bad guy, okay?
All right, if there's no other comment, we'll go to a vote.
So all those in favor, please raise your hand. I have 5. All those opposed? 1. Motion carries. Congratulations.
All right, thank you. Number 9, next up on the agenda is the police chief's report. Is Hapala still on?
Yes.
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
We got you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, another just kind of quick, just for upcoming stuff that's happening with the police department, the body cam rollout officially set for April 1st. We think we have everything all straightened out. So we'll roll out April 1 and we'll let you know in the next meeting how that's going. We have a conditional offer for a lateral officer to join King City Police. He's currently in a background, and I'll be able to give you some more information probably in about a month on how that's going. And just a little update from CEO board and Bureau of Commissioners for WACA. Just one of the meetings I'm involved in. Just a little update on just the money that King City spends towards WACA and what's coming up for the next fiscal year. WACA is about a $25 million a year agency. And we currently only pay half our share of what we are initially charged. The initial charge, if a full 1%, if we used a full % of our airtime, and that's how we're charged by airtime used, would be about $52,000 a year. And since we haven't triggered our 1% of use, we only pay roughly a little over half. And so our share for the upcoming year will be about $27,716. That's about an $807 increase from the previous year. So everything's really good. As we get bigger, we will trigger that 1%. And I have routinely always budgeted the full amount for when that happens. And so we should be in good shape there. And yeah, that's about all I have.
Thank you, Chief. And next up is city manager's report.
I'll make it quick. At last night's Washington County Board of Commissioners meeting, they had the property at the end of 131st that we've been strategically looking to acquire for some time on their docket. The city, following our formal session, put in a bid on that. The bid was accepted by Washington County last night, so we'll need to bring that item back before the council for consideration at a later date. We might need a special hearing, depending on what the turnaround time is for that. So I'm probably trying to eyeball like first week in April potentially to bring that item back in like special session potentially. There was a recall dropped off last Friday, I want to say, for Mayor Manella. I think I made dates wrong. So that will go through to the Washington County Elections Office for certification and probably be put on a special ballot sometime in accordance with the recall laws and procedures. Our audits are underway still. We've been in the 22-23 audit for the last few months. Our auditor left again. So now we've changed auditors again. So I'm going to be bringing it to the council to maybe speak about what we need to do strategically. The problem is that our former accountant, Mr. Moore, kind of left us in a tough spot. And I don't want to go into his situation in public forum. It's really unfortunate, but he left us in a bad way. We're trying to get caught up. We're almost there. We still have to complete the 23-24 audit to be brought into compliance, but our finance department has been basically swamped trying to get through our audits lately. Mira's been out with some issues, so it has been a challenge for us to keep up with that. But we're getting there. Hopefully, we have a new auditor on board now who's bringing this up. There were challenges in that year with the transfer to Cassell and the situation with our accountant at the time. But I think the audit looks.
The report is done. An unqualified opinion is what you want. A final review by the managing partner. That will not start the next audit until they finish this one. So we'll go right into the FY24 audit.
So just an update on that. The initial results for the RFFA Step 2 grant analysis, that's the West Side Trail, came out from Metro this last month. We're about 10 or 11 on the list, I believe, which doesn't bode too well for us. But also with the loss of federal funding or the lack of certainty with federal funding. But so anyways, West Side Trail, it's out there, it's floating around, but grant funds are not looking too promising at this particular moment in time. But we are continuing to pursue grant funds. We are working on the kayak boat launch through the Oregon Marine Board grant, and we're trying to work with both
PG and Bonneville for cooperation at that time to do some geological testing and some preliminary. So I'll just leave it at that. That's about where we're at. There's a lot more going on, but I don't want to waste your time.
Thank you, Mr. Weston. Next up, we have mayors and councilors reports. Let's start with Councilor Braverman.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to report that I would like to add to next month's agenda, if we could entertain that we put the TSP relook on our agenda for our next council meeting and where we are with that. I'd also like to add to next month's agenda that we do revisit the several month request for the breakdown of attorney fees that started with Council Olson. I also asked for it. My counterpart Rachel has asked for it, so we'd like to get that on next month's agenda. Lastly, I just find it to be very disappointing, Mayor, that you continue to bring up this fake conflict of interest that I have sitting as Edgewater's president and also being on the city council. It's getting wearisome, so if you have an issue about that, maybe you could talk to me privately, because your wife keeps bringing it up at the HOA board meetings. You keep bringing it up, and yet it just seems to be a point of contention that the two of you have. But there is no conflict of interest, and that's been established. So I just want to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Tyso.
Oh, I typed mine out. I've been busy since the last time I spoke. Mike Meyer and I had a very, I would say, good conversation. I'm sorry. I'd say Mike Meyer and I had a very good conversation regarding everything. And I walked away from there feeling pretty positive. And on March 13th, Rachel and Mike and I went to the Metro Mixer, which was at the zoo, which was kind of fun. Saw a South American porcupine up close. They also had a boa constrictor there, which I declined to get very close to. We had a presentation by Metro regarding all of the improvements that they have made over the last 5 years to the zoo. It's really pretty amazing, and they've got more plans for the future. Also on the 13th, I attended by Zoom the Policy Advisory Board Committee for Washington County. And in particular, the Policy Advisory Board does the community development block grants and so we discussed the 2025-26 funding year. And the final awards won't be known until May, because we don't know what state and federal funds Metro's going to have available. And then they also discussed the consolidated plan, which doesn't really have much to do with King City, because it's a consolidated plan with Metro, Hillsborough, and Beaverton. We're not big enough to play in that pond. So, and then part of the community development block grant funds are 2 events, and I sent Ronnie the pictures of the 2 flyers that I had from that, and I'd just like to put them up on the screen if it's possible.
Oh, wow, that's great.
And I attended this grand opening this morning to the Just Compassion organization. They have used community development block grant funds to build a transition housing for people who are houseless, and at the same time they have a lot of services. That's that construction that's been going on at Hall Boulevard, just the other side of 99. And Governor Kotek was there, Representative Andrew Enos was there, the mayor, the current mayor of Tigard was there. There was a lot of press and a lot of dignitaries there, so it was kind of fun to see. And then I dashed from there over to Northeast Portland to the Small Cities Group for our region, and we had a presentation by Glenn Bolin, who's the principal planner for ODOT for the TGM, which I have to recommend It stands for Transportation and Growth Management Grant Program. And so that program is something that we have already used and can continue to use for our development and relooking at the TSP. And so I'm sure that Mike and Max have Glenn Boland's contact information, and if not, I will be happy to do that. And the second one that I have there, there is an open house in Tualatin for the Plambeck Gardens, which is a subsidized housing project. And again, lots and lots of public support and community development block grants. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because all of us benefit from programs like this, even if it's not exactly directly for ourselves, but we all know somebody who needs an extra hand. So anyway, I'm done.
Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you for doing that, Jan.
All right, thank you, Councillor Tyso. Councillor Arditi, you're on mute.
Okay, unmuted. This audio system is not great. I had to put a lot of this presentation on closed captions, and some of the way the closed captions read are comical. The city ordinance is not a city ordinance, it's a Sydney ordinance. So I was laughing a lot. If you saw me, I didn't mean to laugh at any of you, but some of the way that the closed caption comes through is crazy. I've been ill, so I haven't been doing a lot. That's it.
Thank you. I hope you get better.
Thanks.
Councillor Hartman?
No updates today.
Councillor Gelfand?
Yes, we had a business meeting before the one we had today, and I'd like to compliment Jessica for being a teamer and person that wants to work with other people and got the ability to team. So I want to thank her. The next thing I've got is I'm worried. I see us come here and speak, and we keep on getting on that mic and throwing zingers at people, as opposed to trying to settle things down and get them done. Where we could be kind and gentle, we don't seem to be. So, and I'm not really not happy about it. And this isn't a fun job. You don't pay me enough. So I want you to know that anybody that takes this job needs their head examined.
Thank you.
So what I'm doing with that is, I've got to think this through because we're not getting anywhere. And I hope when I came to this council that I could fix something. And so far, I don't think I've fixed anything, and it's frustrating. But just thought I'd lay that on you because I have to think this out.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Gelfand. I kind of piggyback off that, with all the rhetoric and everything happening. I haven't done anything this month. The enjoyment out of my volunteer time. I'm starting to question what I'm doing, especially when it comes to my family, affecting my family. So that's all I'll have to say on that. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
I think he has to call the vote.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Mayor. I got excited.
What was that? Okay, yeah. All in favor? Did we, I couldn't hear, it broke up. All right. Thank you. Good night.
Who made the motion? Did you make the motion, Councilor Rose?
I did.
And then who seconded?
I did. Hartman.
Tom Hartman. I wanted to go to that, yet I wrote them a congratulations. The homeless place that opened on Hall.
Oh, yeah.
I sent them a nice note.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I wanted to go. I just